Hi everyone, welcome to Burkeshire Farm. Thank you very much for clicking on our channel.
Today we're in the backyard of our rental home and we wanted to update you on our container gardening with the sweet potatoes. Alright, as you can see, this is the sweet potato slips that we planted back in the middle of July. They still have about a month left. Somewhere in the middle of November will be 120 to 125 days, and then we'll be able to get underneath the ground and see what we have. When they first started growing, they were like little twigs, and we were all excited, but as time went on, those little twigs stayed being little twigs. And then all of a sudden, one day, they started growing like crazy. I mean, you could see they're just drooping down the sides. There's one over here that the vine is that long, and actually I just pulled it out of that pot, but I'm going to be using that pot in just a little bit. So what I've been trying to do to keep them kind of contained a little bit is keep wrapping them around this area and let them droop down. So we're really excited. At first we kind of thought, well, maybe there's no sweet potatoes underneath there. But one day, this is our little container that we were doing our slips in. And we had a lot of slips that they had no leaves on it and everything. So I was just kind of trimming it up a little bit, get rid of those vines that had no leaves. We have a possum that lives here. We don't know if maybe the possums were eating the leaves or if the sweet potatoes are just getting old, or the slips are just getting old, but the possum's not eating this part, so not sure what's happening. But when I was pulling some of these out and trimming them off, a sweet potato came out of the dirt. This is not a sweet potato that we planted. The sweet potatoes that we planted were big sweet potatoes. This is actually a little sweet potato that was growing off of one of the sweet potato vines. It was crazy, but I saved it, and I'm going to save it until next year, and I'm going to see if we can get sweet potato slips off of this little guy here. So I'm going to move this. These are the 3 pots that we didn't put any sweet potato slips in. Originally we thought we would put maybe a tomato plant or pepper plants or something like that. We'd just go to the big box store and buy it. But because it was the middle of July, when we did go to the store, they looked horrible. I mean, they were these wilty, nasty looking plants, and they wanted to charge almost $8 for it. So we scratched that idea and said, forget it, we're not going to do that. Then Frank was going online and he found a schedule on when to plant what in this area. And we figured out a couple of things that we're going to plant in these, because now the weather's starting to cool off and it'll be kind of like a small fall garden. But before we get to that, I want to show you something about the sweet potatoes that I've been battling a little bit. So we really haven't had any kind of pest control problems here. We've had a couple of ladybugs on here. Of course, we leave them on there. We've had a couple of lizards. We have a little frog or two that live down below, but we really haven't had any pest insect problems with these, except for one thing, and that's something that is called a mealybug. I didn't know what it was, but you can see right here, we can zoom in on that. These are little mealybugs, and I kind of took a photo of it and looked online to see what it was, and that's what they're saying these are. These are little mealybugs. And I tried to find out where they came from. The only thing that I could find was that these bugs like high humidity, which we definitely have high humidity here, and you can also get them from other household plants. Well, this is not a household plant. And these plants actually came from a sweet potato from a all-natural grocery store. So I don't know where these came from, and I would love it if somebody could let me know where they came from. What did it come from? Another bug? Did it come from out of the air? Where it came from? But if anybody can help me understand a little bit more about these mealybugs, I greatly appreciate it. there's two things that I did find out of how to get rid of these, and one of them is you take, because it's supposed to be an indoor plant, you take the plant away from all the other plants, isolate it, and then take a Q-tip that has rubbing alcohol on it and just kind of dab it with the rubbing alcohol. The other thing I've read is also BT. You can spray it with BT and that will control and get rid of them. Well, we don't have the BT because it's at the farm, and it's not a household plant, and I can't isolate these, and actually it's just right in this area. They never got on the box that had the slips, and it never at the end. It's just right in this area. So every night I come out here, and all I do is I kind of pluck them off, squish them, and that's it. And some days I won't find any, and other days I'll find 5 or 6. So I'm just curious to know, does anybody know how to take care of mealybugs and where they come from? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant some seeds in these buckets here. The type of seeds that I'm going to plant are, in this one here, I think I'm going to plant the beets. These are early wonder beets, and these are golden beets that we got from Baker Creek. These I got a long time ago from one of the big box stores, and they actually did a pretty good job. This one we just got about 2 weeks ago from Baker Creek, so I'm so excited because Baker Creek has some really awesome seeds. Then in another bucket we're going to do carrots, because carrots apparently are really great in the fall, especially in this area is what we're being told. And this package I found, it was bought back in 2018, so it's a really, it's a couple years old, so we're going to see what happens. The other one is from Baker Creek, and we planted these last year in our Tucson garden, and they did fantastic. They were nice and sweet, so I'm looking forward to see how well they're going to do in the containers this year. And the favorite lettuce of ours from Baker Creek is the Rocky Top lettuce that we'll put in that bucket over there, and their Bloomdale long-standing spinach. I'm just going to kind of mix it together, see what happens, and I'm going to put it in this pot over here because this pot doesn't have as much dirt in it, and if we do have a possum issue, I would think out of everything it'd probably go after the lettuce, so we'd be able to cover it if we put it in that one. Well, let's start with the beets, and we're going to put them in this pot right here. If you watched our other YouTube about when we first got the pots, you knew that this is compost that we got that has all kinds of different, what would you say, Frank?
He said that it had a little bit of chicken manure and mushroom compost.
So I'm not going to add anything to it. We're just going to see what happens. I'm going to kind of roughen the dirt up, but you can see this has been sitting since the middle of July. It's been rained on. It's been watered on because we were watering the sweet potatoes in the sweet potato slips and these here, so water was constantly coming over it. And I really thought today when I came out here, this dirt was going to be really hard. But using this little rake, it's not hard at all. It's just, it's still really loose. So I think this is going to be really good dirt still to grow the beets and everything in. It's not going to be real hard and compact. And I have a pen, well, a marker that I'm going to use to make little holes. You improvise with what you got. So according to the package, plant them about an inch, a half an inch apart. But I'm just going to kind of start in the middle, and you want to plant, it says, about a half an inch deep. Let's rephrase that. So it says here that we plant them a half an inch deep, and spacing should be about 4 to 6 inches apart. I'll guesstimate. I'm usually a little bit closer when it comes to planting because I want to get in as much as I can. So I'll try and stick to the 4 to 6 inches as best I can.
Are you going to do one side, one style, or and the other side the other, kind of a half and
Yeah,
half?
that's a good idea. What I'll do is I'll put the yellow on one side and I'll put the red or burgundy on the other side. Well, let's see what happens. That's a good idea. I don't know if you can see Ladybug back here, but she's trying to find the frog. It's her adventure every night, trying to find the frog. Alright, let me start with the Early Wonder. See how many are even in here. I think I've used them for like 3 seasons now. Oh yeah. So I'm going to put 1 seed in each hole. Alright. Put those seeds back. We'll see how well they germinate, considering how old they are. These are probably the same. We probably bought these back in 2018, if not longer than that. And then do the golden beets. Oh, there we go. I almost forgot which hole to start with. Just pluck them in, one at a time. And then as they start to grow, we'll thin them out. Even though it's just 1 seed, it doesn't mean it's going to be 1 beet plant coming up. There'll be 2 or 3 of them, and so you just kind of, what I normally do is I leave the strongest looking one and I take the little scragglers away. Oops, well, we might have a beet growing down there. Alright. Put the seeds back in, and now I'm just going to lightly cover them, and we'll go on to our next one. In this pot, we're going to do the carrots, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did in that pot there. I'm going to do half one type of carrot and half the other type of carrot. I'm just going to kind of roughen it up a little bit here. And we had a rain the other day, so it's pretty moist underneath here. The very, very top's a little bit dry, but underneath it is very moist. Alright, flatten that down a little bit. Get rid of the weeds. One of the things that Frank really liked about this compost is there wasn't a lot of wood chips. So it's really nice that there's not a whole lot in here. Alright. So what I'm going to do is, these are supposed to be planted 2 to 3 inches underneath the ground, and they're supposed to be a quarter of an inch deep. Well, these little seeds, I'll show you when I dump them out a little bit, they're very, very tiny. So what I like to do is just make little rows and then sprinkle them in, cover them up, and then as they start to grow, I just kind of thin them out as it goes along. Because otherwise trying to pick one little tiny seed at a time, nah, not for me. So I'm just going to make little rows. That. Let's see, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 4. So we'll do 2 rows of the Baker Creek and 2 rows of the, well, to be honest, I think it was Walmart or Kmart that I got those at. As you can see, these seeds are wee tiny, and to sit there and take one at a time and pluck them would be really tedious. So I just kind of go along and sprinkle them in. Down the row. Okay, I added a couple in the first row and let's see what happens. Down with that one. So we have to remember, the first 2 rows was the Baker Creek. The second 2 rows is the Walmart / Kmart, whichever one it was. I don't even know if there is a Kmart around anymore. But this is going to be in the second half. The beets will be easy to remember because one's yellow and one's red. But this might be a little more difficult to tell which one's going to be which. Take those little tiny seeds. I'm going to put these in the back 2 rows. And then I'm just going to gently cover them. Now, carrots take a long time to germinate. So I don't expect to see anything too soon with the carrots. And last but not least, for the lettuce, I used to do the same thing. I used to just take little rows and carefully put the little seeds in each row and then cover them up. But then I was watching a video one time and I don't remember which video it was, but they said, you know what, just sprinkle it on top, rough the dirt up around it, and let it go. So I've been doing that 2 seasons now, and it seems to work. You can see how tiny these seeds are. Just like the carrot seeds, really super tiny. We'll take some of the spinach seeds. Good. And you can see these are a lot larger than the lettuce seeds. So I'm just going to I'm not going to sprinkle these so much, I'm just going to kind of place them. I've never done it this way with spinach. Usually with spinach I'm a little bit more meticulous. So I'm just going to kind of poke the spinach under a little bit, not much, if I can find them. All the other ones are kind of hiding. So then I'm just going to kind of roughen up the dirt a little bit, cover up the seeds that I see. All right. So in this bucket we have our lettuce, in this bucket we have our carrots, and in this bucket we have our beets. So we'll keep you updated on how they germinate and as they grow. And in about 3 to 4 weeks, we will go ahead and start harvesting the sweet potatoes, and we'll definitely bring you along on that so you can be surprised at what's underneath there just as we are. Hopefully we'll have a good surprise and not a sad surprise. So that's our backyard gardening for today. I'm going to go ahead and water these and call it a day.
Thank you very much for clicking on our channel and joining us today in our container gardening. We're excited to see where it goes, and we're excited to see when you start to germinate, and we're definitely going to bring you along with us. So thank you very much, and have a blessed day.
God bless.
I think we need a longer hose.